All right, well, we're here with another episode of the 4-H's, and it's been a little while since we've done one, a few weeks. We're a little behind, but we're going to keep working at them. And I'm here with Lynne, and she's going to share with us her 4-H's. And so last name?
Norbjerg.
Norbjerg, okay, Lynne Norbjerg. And the first of the 4-H's, of course, is your history. So maybe you can fill us in just a little bit on sort of your life that brought you to here, to Port Alberni, to what the more recent history of your life.
Alrighty, well, I was born and raised in Hamilton, Ontario.
Oh, that's a long ways away.
It is. And I was one of 6 kids, and grew up Catholic, raised Catholic, went to Catholic elementary school, and but as a teen, typical teen, I kind of wandered away, and much to my mother's dismay, stopped going to church. Well, not as regularly as she would have liked. And you get into a bit of stuff that maybe you shouldn't, and but it was good. But at 18, I joined a Navy summer program.
Oh yeah.
So that was a lot of fun. And then in the fall, I joined the Navy Reserves.
Okay.
My sister did not, but I did, and I enjoyed it. And so the following summer, I got posted to Esquimalt in Victoria, and that's how I made it out west.
Okay.
Loved the coast.
Yeah, it's a beautiful spot.
It is. And so I met my husband in Esquimalt.
Yeah.
He was in the Navy, and he was in the process of getting out. So I was there 3 months, and then I went home to pack my bags. I didn't pack very quickly because my husband, he came out to meet the family and to have a visit over Christmas and whatnot. So in February, I had packed and I left home and flew to Vancouver, flew to Campbell River, flew to Tassis, and then flew to Cayucet. It took me 2 days because of the weather. But and then I lived on Spring Island for a year or so. And that was a Loran station, a navigational system.
Yeah.
So my husband worked there.
With the Navy?
No, he was out of the Navy, and
Okay.
that's just a job he had gotten.
Okay. Yeah.
And so we were there, and while we were there, my brother and his wife came west.
Ah.
And they were moving west because her parents had moved west already, so they were moving west, and they thought they'd come visit us before they got jobs and stuff. So and he walked into a job on Spring Island, so we were both there for a while.
Yeah.
And then we moved into Cayucet because we had met friends there.
Yeah.
And Cayucet is on the northwest coast of Vancouver Island.
Yeah.
So you go to Zabalas and you pass Zabalas. So it's pretty rural, First Nations community.
Yeah.
And so we were living there, and we really liked it. So and there was property for sale. So we asked my brother and his wife if they wanted to go in with us because we couldn't afford it on our own.
Yeah.
And they said yes, so we bought property, and we all moved in to this one house.
On that island?
On the island.
Wow.
And it was an island. It was fun telling my family we bought an island in the Pacific. But so Rick and Joanne had their firstborn, and then I had Joshua, and then they had Kathy, and then I had Michelle, and then they had Janice, and then when I was pregnant with my third, they moved out.
Wow.
Rick had been building on the property, and so they moved into their house. And
It was a full house?
It was a full house, and there wasn't any more room.
And did they have a hospital on the island?
It's just a little island. It's our personal little island.
Okay.
It's about a hectare.
So you had to go to the hospital somewhere else to have babies?
To town. Yeah,
Town.
to Campbell River. Joanne would always go
to Campbell River.
Vancouver area because that's where her folks lived.
Yeah. Okay.
So and for me, I went to Campbell River.
Yeah.
So that's what we would call town, was
Right.
Campbell River, and it's about a 3 to 4 hour drive, depending on how fast you drive on most of half of its logging roads.
Right.
And they're in much better shape than they were when we first started driving it.
Yeah.
So lots of prayers on that logging road, I tell you.
So that's essentially driving from the west side of the island over to the east side. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty secluded.
It is.
Yeah.
It is, but beautiful.
Yeah.
really pretty. So we had, my kitchen faced the water. It was the bay.
Yeah.
I couldn't see the ocean, but it's ocean water. And
Right.
So yeah.
Beautiful.
It's lots of fun.
So how did you get to Port Alberni?
Well, Rick and Joanne, when we were in Cayucit, they started going to the church there.
Yeah.
I would go to the Catholic services about once a month when the priest came in. My husband didn't like me going to the other one because he thought it was a little cultish and didn't want me going, so I didn't go. But let's see. But Rick and Joanne went, and it was in those early years that they got saved and became born again, which
was different.
That was different.
Yeah.
It's like born again, okay, like whatever. And but them and some other friends of ours and several from the First Nations community all got baptized this one summer.
Yeah.
And I remember them being so happy.
Yeah.
They quit smoking, they quit swearing, and this lasted, because I would watch, you
Yeah,
watch them,
sure.
of course.
Is this for real?
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And yeah, no, very happy. They would, yeah. And I wanted what they wanted.
Yeah.
Because I married young, and I was away from my family, my sisters, my mom, and so I had my struggles and kind of wanting what they wanted. And I can remember asking Jesus into my heart, actually several times, because I was really wanting a quick fix.
Yeah.
And that's not what Jesus
Right.
is all about. So it took me a long time to learn that. And so then we finally built a new house. And it was a few years after that my husband left the community, left his family. And so that was a hard time, but God provided, and I got a job up at the school.
Yeah.
So that was God, heaven sent, for sure. It can provide for the kids, because we stayed. I would never have stayed if my brother had not been there,
Yeah.
because I just wouldn't have had any family
Right.
support. So, I must say, my ex's family was very supportive, very,
That's good.
yeah, they're family, yeah. And what else is interesting? It was, so I got the job, and then it was great having the same holidays as my kids.
Yeah.
And so then I got to go to church,
Right.
the one that my brother and his wife went to. And it was a missionary with name.
Yeah.
And then the nurse at the time, Jackie Wan, they ran the services, and
Right.
it was really non-denominational. Everybody just came. But and I know my brother encouraged me to get baptized, but it took me a while to do that, because I wanted to really understand
Yeah.
why. I just didn't want to do it because they had done it
Right.
and whatnot. So it's been a long, slow journey for me in my faith, but lots of answered prayer throughout my life. Like I've always believed in God. I've always believed He was there. Like again, answered prayer as a little kid. And even though I married someone who didn't believe in God, I guess I thought I could be religious for the both of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of thing. And then the kids grew up, and my eldest daughter, was going to college in Courtney.
Yeah.
And they had her and her cousin, one Ricky and Joanne's daughters, and eventually their son, eventually their other sons. They had that apartment for a long time, and I would always be going out catching rides, because I don't drive. I'd be catching rides out to go visit them. And she worked the summers in Cayucit, met a fishing guide from Port Alberni. She married him, and they moved to Port Alberni.
Huh.
So that's how
Yeah.
I came to visit here.
Okay.
And we had some good friends. Ones that originally got baptized that summer, Rick and Joanne did. They ended up here in Port Alberni, and they went to Aerosmith Baptist Church.
Yeah.
So my daughter doesn't live very far away.
Okay.
So the first time I was out visiting over a long weekend, I started coming to this church because our friends came here and I wanted to surprise them.
Ah.
But that first Sunday, I couldn't find them, like I didn't see them. So I just sat down and everybody was so welcoming, like, you know, the greeting at the door. And I sat in this one area and there's nobody around me. But I was so moved by the sermon and by the singing, I just started crying.
Wow, yeah.
There I am crying. I'm trying to cry quietly in the church, and I just couldn't stop crying. And this one lady finally came over and asked if I was okay, and I was okay. I was just really moved by the
Who's
sermon.
the pastor then?
I'm not sure if it was Leland
Leland
preaching that day or
okay.
not.
Okay.
But I knew Leland was.
He was here at the time.
He was here at the time. Yeah, I just guess I didn't know anybody, so I couldn't say if it was Leland or not.
Okay.
But so that's how I started coming to Aerosmith, because any Sunday that I was here, I would go.
Yeah.
And then when I retired, I moved in with my daughter here to help babysit my granddaughter, who was just starting school. I mean, she had been going to daycare because Michelle's a nurse, so all the times her and her husband were working, like she would be in daycare.
Right.
So I thought, oh, my grandbaby. So I came out and so then I started coming here full time and joined the ladies' Bible study and so here I am.
Great. Wow, that's quite a story. Thank you for sharing it with us.
Oh, you're welcome.
So we'll take a little pause and then we'll do the second H, which is heroes.
Sounds good.
So Lynne, let's go with the heroes and fill us in on some of the people who've really impacted you in your life.
I have to say my mom, because she was a devout Catholic, and so she taught us. I remember her teaching my sister and I our prayers when we were really little, and because we had to be able to say certain prayers to get into the Catholic school.
Oh yeah.
So and she always tried to teach us to be good and to love one another. That was her phrase. Like when we were fighting or whatever, she said, just love one another. And but it's just so biblical, really.
Yeah, that's it.
It's
the core of it.
So my mom, and then my sister Lori is actually my twin sister, but we're not identical. She's much taller than me. I'm the runt of my family. And we're very close, being a twin, and she's just always been there for me. And then when she became born again, it was just great. It just added a whole new dimension to our relationships. Listening to her stories of answered prayer for her and her growth in her faith. It encouraged me, inspired me to do better. Yeah. Because she just grew leaps and bounds, whereas my faith walk has just been really slow, kind of like the tortoise and the hare, just kind of thing. And so her, and then my brother Rick and Joanne that are in Cayucet. Yeah. Just a steadfast faithfulness all these years, great support in times of trouble. They've been a blessing to me and my family, and a blessing to the community. Just wonderful. Yeah. Wonderful people. Yeah,
that's good. That's some great heroes. I love how many of these have been family members, and all the 4-H's that I've done. So often it's family members that are the heroes, and that's pretty amazing to hear.
Yeah, well, growing up Catholic, like I knew of God, I believed in God. But it just wasn't like a personal relationship. Like he was out there. Yeah. You know, it just wasn't that real personal relationship that one can have with Jesus. It's just
maybe more of an institutional sort of approach.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
So our third H is the more intimate one. It's the heartaches, the hard things that have happened in life. So whatever you're willing, comfortable to share with us, fill us in on that.
I guess my first heartache I'll share is my dad. I haven't really talked about him too much. Just when I was 17, he developed an Alzheimer-like disease, and then a few years later, I left home. So I never really I knew my dad. I mean, it's different when you're a kid from when you're an adult, and to have that kind of relationship. So yeah, so I never
Yeah.
really got to know him.
Yeah.
And then he passed quite a few years later, but he was in a home, and yeah, so that was sad.
Yeah.
And then of course the heartache was my husband.
Yeah.
When he left. That was hard. That was hard. It was hard for the kids, and it was hard for me. It was heartbreaking for me to see my kids, how upset they were.
Yeah.
So that was, but God provided. He was so there.
Yeah.
And has provided for me all these years. I've accepted it as a gift. Anything that's come, good or bad, it's been for my healing and for teaching and encouragement, and yeah.
Yeah.
And then the last one, there's all the family and friends that have passed, especially in the last several years. I've had a few good friends that have passed. I would say before their time, but it's all in God's timing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so that's been a tough one. But then it leads us into our last stage.
Yeah.
The hope.
The hope. Yeah.
Hope.
Yeah.
And it's such a great hope. It is the hope of heaven, of being reunited with family and friends in heaven.
Yeah.
The hope of seeing Jesus.
Yeah.
Like that's great.
Pretty amazing.
And the hope that my family and friends will come to know him.
Yeah.
That's been a big prayer and a big hope, that that God would open the eyes of their heart,
Yeah.
to see him and to know the depth of his love. It's pretty amazing.
We all need it.
We do.
Yeah.
We do.
It's a universal need for sure. Those are great hopes.
Yeah.
I join you in them. Good. Oh, well,
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing with us. That was
You're very
amazing to hear
welcome.
your story and to hear how God has worked through your life. It's pretty heartwarming.
Thank you.